Hello, welcome to Saturday Afternoon Live. We should have audio, we should have video. Welcome out there, everyone. I see Grish is here in the chat. We have 3 people so far, so hopefully more will come piling in today. So how is that? How are you, Grish? Welcome. Let me bring your comment up on the screen. And Grish says, hey, notification squad. So very cool. All right, we have another viewer, so we have 4 people here. If you are here in the chat, let me, takes about a minute. I have subscriber only mode on. So after the first minute, if you subscribe to the channel, you should be able to join in the live chat. So if you are here and you are a subscriber, please let me know and say hello. So we got 2 likes. Thank you very much. Hit the like button, please. And yeah, so today I am going to do something a little different, a little out of my comfort zone, to be honest. David had asked me last week at the beginning of the live stream if I had explored any of the layer 3 switching or routing capabilities on the Grandstream layer 3 switches that I have. And I had said no at that point. I have not, but he got me to thinking that I really should, even though it's not really something I do with the clientele that I work with, because I do mostly residential work. I don't do corporate and business where that would really come into play in the larger networks. So for mainly residential networks, layer 2 switching, mainly residential networks, the layer 2 switching is more than adequate. So, but we are going to do a little exploring with the layer 3 switching, the multi-layer switching, and I'll show you a diagram. I'm just going to follow along with one of the example in one of the Grandstream documentation articles. So I did play with it earlier in the week just so I could become somewhat familiar with it. But yeah. And David says it's kind of an advanced topic, even corporate. Not really used unless it's really needed. Yeah. Core switches mostly. Yes. So, and Terrell, welcome. Glad to see you here on a Saturday afternoon. Happy to see you here. Hope you're feeling good, my friend. And thank you for joining. So, all right. How's everybody? Can you guys give me an idea, 5 by 5 on the video and the audio? That would be great. Me, I had a little incident yesterday before we get into the actual playing with the layer 3 switches. Before we get into it, I had a little incident yesterday at the pool. I went to the pool for the first time this week. It was 95, 96 degrees. So I went up to the pool in the afternoon around 12:30, brought my raft, put on my sunblock, got in the water. Excuse me. Sorry about that, folks. Got in the water, and no sooner did I close my eyes, I felt something on my chin here, or under my chin, like right here on my neckish area. And I thought it was water from somebody splashing, but then all of a sudden I started to feel the beginning of pinching. So I quickly flicked, and it was a bee, and I was in the process of beginning to get stung. I wasn't in the raft literally more than a minute, and the bee found me and stung me. You can't really see it, but it is slightly red, and it's a little bit more of a bump today than yesterday. But I guess I'm not allergic, because quite honestly, if I was, I probably wouldn't be here right now. So There we go, in any event. All right, so what I want to do real quick, and Terrell said 5x5 here. Okay, so the volume is okay, the picture's okay. I'm going to switch cameras back to my workstation, and on my way back there, as I walk there, I'm going to flip on a light so it's a little bit brighter. Let me change microphones before I forget. Check, 1, 2. Check. Now I'm on the wireless mic. Let me switch cameras. And I do need to turn on a light. Okay, that should be better. All right, so what do we have here? What we have here is a friggin' mess. That's what we have here. This is my workstation though. So this is where I play, and when I'm setting up networks for my customers, I'm here in this area. So I have obviously the best of both worlds in this studio. I have my sit down station over there where I go live from and I do editing from and I make my videos, and then I have this here, and it's a standing situation. So I have my standing situation here, my sitting situation there. So I get a little bit of a mix during the course of the week. So anyway, so what I have configured here, or not configured, just plugged in, is I have a Grandstream GWN 7001 network router, and I have that plugged into the wall here. I have the WAN port plugged into the wall so that I can get internet access through this network here, this test network. And then here is the 7822P. This is the layer 3 switch that I showed you last week briefly, and then I released a video on it as well. So this is going to be the main, it'll be acting as, I guess, the core switch, as David put it earlier. And then what I have will be 2 access switches. So I have the router connected, one of the LAN ports on the router connected to the first port here on the 7822P. And then back here, I have the GWN 7811P. That's another, it's a smaller layer 3 switch. It's an 8-port switch. And I have that connected from port 8 on the 7822 to port 8 on the 7811P. And then the third switch here is, this is a GWN 7801P. This is a layer 2 switch, and I have that connected to the 7822 on port 7 and connected here on port 7 as well. And then this one right here, this is the iMac, my old iMac computer, which I'll be using as a test once I get the multi-layer switching configured. So that's that as far as the physical configuration and the mess that I have here. That's my old Unify switch. That is my Unify 24-port non-PoE, and a bunch of owner's manuals and wires. And so yeah, so again, this is my messy workstation, but it serves the purpose. All right, I'm gonna head back over to the computer and we'll go from there. So be right back. Okay, I should be back, and I should be back on the main microphone at this point. So that's the setup we're going to be working with for today to play with this here. Let me get this up on the screen, and let's switch to SuperSource. And so this is the Grandstream documentation. So this is basically what we're going to try to recreate here. So I have the 7001. Here's the first multi-layer layer 3 switch. Here's the first access switch and the second access switch. And we're basically going to configure it so it sets up inter-VLAN routing between the two. As it says here, in this guide, we will walk through the configuration of the multi-layer switch connected to access switches that will result in inter-VLAN routing. And then at that point, once we get what it says here configured, we should have the ability to ping back and forth between the two devices that will be connected. But I do want to take it a step further, and then using some static routes, I want to be able to see if I can successfully get out to the internet from one of the hosts connected to one of the access switches. So, and when I say we'll see if I can, it's because I played with it twice this week and I had two different results. So we're going to see which one works today during the live stream, if any. So the first time I played with this configuration, all I had to do was create a static route on the router with the next hop over to the 7822, which is acting as the core switch in this example. When I recreated it later on in the week, just to refresh my memory, and that worked. And I was able to get out to the internet from one of the access switches. When I recreated it later on in the week, I did exactly the same steps and couldn't get out to the internet from the host on the access switch until I added another static route, this time on the layer 3 switch, with the next hop being the router. And then I got out to the internet. And I was a little confused as to why that was, because why it worked the first time, but the second time I had to add that additional static route on the layer 3 switch out. And I tested that theory by eliminating the static route on the layer 3 switch, and I had a persistent ping running, and as soon as I eliminated that route, the ping started to fail. So I put that route back on the layer 3 switch with the next hop to the router. The ping picked back up. So then I tested it on the other end, and I went over to the router and I disabled the static routes on the router's end, and again, the ping dropped. So where the first time I tested this, I only needed the static routes on the router. The second time I tested this, I needed the static routes enabled on both the router and the layer 3 switch. So we're going to see if we get that far in this experimentation, we're going to see if, in fact, which one works during the live stream. Again, like I said, I'm a little out of my comfort zone here, but that's fine. I should be able to get this to work and see what happens. So that said, let's get started. Let me bring up this screen here and get logged into the devices. So let's see, is there anybody else here? We have 6 people here, 2 likes. Again, folks, if you're here, let me know by saying hello. I know David's here. I know Terrell's here. Hopefully, maybe we'll see TVJ and Jeremy. Who knows? All right, let me get logged into the devices. Okay, that gets us into the router. Let's get into the 7822. Let's get into the 7811. And let's get into the 7801P. Okay. So I'm going to start with, I believe, let's start with the layer 3 switch. So let's come over here and let's come into switching. Now this is the 7822. And let's come down to where it says VLAN, and we're going to add 2 VLANs. So what we're going to do is I'm going to assign, let me go back to the other screen here for a second. So I'm going to assign, so we're going to create both VLANs, the VLAN interfaces on this main switch and the DHCP server on this main switch. Then we're going to create VLAN 10 on the first access switch and VLAN 20 on the second access switch. So that's the plan. And I may refer back to that document. We'll see. All right, so we're going to add both VLANs on the 7822P. Okay, so we have both VLANs, and I just added both of them at the same time by just using a comma in between. Okay, now on VLAN 10, I had already remembered the settings from last time. So I have VLAN, port 1 tagged because this is the link to the router, and I connected to the first access switch on port 8. So you have to tag that port as well. So that's already done. That's great. But we'll save it anyway. Let's go into VLAN 20, and yes, it remembered again, even though I deleted the VLAN. So I got port 1 tagged because, again, connected to the router, and then I connected the 7822 on port 7 out to the second access switch. So that's correct as well. We'll save it just in case. All right, so now we're going to go to IP, and we're going to go to the VLAN interfaces, and we're going to create the VLAN interface for both VLAN 10 and VLAN 20. So this is VLAN 10, and the IP address is, that's the stream key dummy, 192. I forgot that I copied that. Not the stream key, that's the key to get the H2R code running so I could pull in the actual chat messages. So this is going to be 10.1, and the mask length will make it for now 24, and we can say OK. And then you can see it's up already. The interface status is up. We're going to add VLAN 20, and the address is 192. We'll make it 168.20.1, and again we'll make the length, the subnet mask, 24, and you can see that's up as well. Now, a very important step before we move on here, when I created the VLANs, it's important to actually tag that first port that's connected to the router, because if you don't, if you forget, then you're going to notice when we go back to the VLAN interface, did it not save? It should show up as down. Yeah, that's untagged. That's not tagged at all. So that VLAN interface for for VLAN 10 should show up as down. That's really weird. Huh. We're going to do the same. Let's untag this one too. Save. Those should show up as down. I'm going to delete them and recreate them without port 1 tagged. Save. That should not show up as status up. Oops, forgot the dot. Oh, that is really strange. All right. Again, I'm getting a different result. mask here, 24. I scratch my head sometimes, and they're both showing up as up. But we have to tag this, so we have to tag port 1 on VLAN 10, and we have to tag port 1 on VLAN 20. Okay, that was weird, but let's move on. So let's go into the back into the IP section. Let's go to the DHCP server. Let's turn on the DHCP service, say OK. We'll say save. And then we'll add our pools for each. So we're going to call this VLAN 10 traffic. If that interface status is any indication of how this is going to go, I'm screwed. All right, for the type, we don't want global. We want the interface, and the interface we want to select for VLAN 10 is the VLAN 10 interface that we created in the last step. And we'll make the range, we'll make it 50. 50 dot, not 150, 50. And we'll copy, let me copy that. And we'll make it for 100 for now. Oh my God, look at what the hell am I doing? 192.168.10.50. Jesus, that's what I want. Copy. Paste, and we'll make this .100. And we'll paste in, and we'll make that 10. All right, so 192.168.10.50, 10.100, 10.1. Let's make sure I'm here. I'm good here. All right, we got that. And we got, let's add the pool, the DHCP pool for VLAN 20. Again, we want to make an interface, and we're going to want to make the VLAN interface 20, and the pool we're going to make 20.50. And you can make the pool whatever you want, but just for simplicity, 100, and then we'll make the 20.1. Okay. And we're going to say save. I didn't call it the same name, but that's okay. All right, so just to recap before we go into the access switches, we created VLANs, VLAN 10, VLAN 20. In each VLAN, we tagged the port that's linked to the router and the port that's linked to the access switch for that VLAN. So port 8's going to the 7811P. So that's good. On here, on VLAN 20, we tagged port 1, and then we tagged port 7, which is going out to the second access switch. So that's good. So we have that. We have our VLAN interface here, and the status is up, although before, when I tried to show you that it should have been down without the tagging on port 1, it didn't go down, and I just don't know if that was Grandstream's system's not updating, because I'm telling you it should have gone down without that tag on that port. But in any event, we have both up here, and then we have our DHCP server service active, and then we have VLAN 20 and VLAN 10, and we have our pools right here. So that's that. So let me go over to the comments quickly, and let's say hello to Alonzo. Alonzo, welcome. As you've gathered, I'm exploring the layer 3 switching capabilities of the Grandstream layer 3 switches. So as I mentioned earlier on, this is not something I do in my residential networks. It's not something I do really at all. So it's a little out of my comfort zone, but we're going to plug through it. All right. Well, thank you for being here, Alonzo. All right, so that's that. So let's go over to the first access switch, which is the 7811P, and we're going to come down to switching. We're going to come down to VLAN, and we're going to add to this one VLAN 10. And in here, we're going to tag port, I believe this one's port 8 is connected to the 7822. And what I want to do is untag port 5, because that's where we're going to plug in our host. So we have port 8 tagged, port 5 untagged, and then we're going to come into port settings, and we're going to take port 5, and we are going to change it from a trunk port to an access port, basically meaning any host that plugs into port 5 now will get an address. It'll be an untagged port in VLAN 10, so they'll get an address. They should get an address in the 192.168.10 range. So we have that done, and that's really all we need to do on the access switch. We're going to do the same thing on the 7801P. So we'll come over to switching. We're going to add VLAN 20 here. We'll save that. Okay, and then here what we're going to do is we're going to tag port 7, because that's the link to the 7822P, the core switch, and then I'm going to untag port 5 on this one as well, and any host that plugs into port 5 on that switch should get an address in the 192.168.20 range, but we do have to come over to port settings and take port 5 and again change it from trunk to access. And we'll save that. All right. Alonzo says, watched your UCM videos again, finally ordered the UCM 6301 for my home. Awesome. Very cool. Hello, Bluey. Welcome back another week. Glad to see you here. And Alonzo, I'm excited to hear that. You have to let me know how the setup goes. All right, we have 9 people here. We have 5 likes. So if you guys could throw the video a like as I stumble through multi-layer switching, that would be greatly, greatly appreciated. All right, so I think I have everything configured properly according to, where is it? According to this diagram and the instructions in here in this help doc. So what I'm going to do now is plug in the iMac on the back desk to port, let me see, which one should I do? Well, I'm going to plug the iMac into one of the access switches, and then I'm going to plug my main computer into the other access switch, and we should be able to ping in between. Fingers crossed. I'll be right back. Okay, so let me just check. We did get an address on the iMac. I plugged it into the second access switch, so we did get an address in the 192.168.20 range. Let me see where I am with this computer here. See if we got an address in the 10 range. And we did. You can see it. here. 192.168.10.1, and the other one got an address 192.168.20.72. So then in theory, I should be able to ping. Let me make this larger. I should be able to ping from here on the 10 subnet over to the iMac on the 20 subnet. So '72, and there you go. So we do have inter-VLAN routing going on between the two. So now, in theory, I shouldn't have access from my computer now on the 10 network to the internet. So if we were to try to ping out to the internet, okay, so that's correct. So we don't have access to the internet. So that's, so far, so good. So let's remove that and let's go, let's see, back to me for a second, and let's look at the comments. Hey Joe, welcome. Just saying hello. Multicam filming a parade today, kicks off in a couple of minutes. Well, I'm glad you stopped in to say hello. Appreciate it. Good luck with the multicam filming. This is a new experience for you, I would gather. First time doing something like this. So good luck, my friend. And we'll touch base either later or tomorrow to see how it went. Okay, so fortunately, I was able to get that chat because this computer's still connected. My main computer, it says chat's disconnected right now, and that is because it's no longer on the main network and it's on the subnet. So let me see now what I did earlier in the week. Oh, I have to now switch back for a second to get back to, as you can see, if I bring up, and this was one of the things I was trying to figure out, what was the best way I was going to show you without having to get up back and forth a lot, but I do have to get back and forth. So I have to now go put my main computer back so that I can control the router, and so I'll be right back. Okay, give it a second to grab the address. Let's see, where are we? There we go. Okay, we're back. All right, let me get logged into the router again. Okay, so we are back in the GWN 7001. I should have the chat back too. Let me refresh the YouTube studio. Yep, chat is back. Okay, cool. All right, so earlier in the week, now this is where it got a little confusing for me later in the week when I tried this, because earlier in the week, now that we have the inter-VLAN routing set up between the two access switches as a result of configuring the 7822 as, quote, the core switch, where it's doing where the interfaces are set up, where it's doing the DHCP serving, to get it out to the internet. All I simply did was come into the router, go to static routes, and I added static routes for both of those VLANs. So all I did was call this VLAN 10 traffic, let's say, enable. and then put in the IP address of that VLAN. And then the subnet mask. And the outgoing interface, we don't want it to be the WAN. We don't want it to be the black hole. We want it to be the default VLAN. And the next hop will be the layer 3 7822p switch, which is 192.168.80.231. Let me just copy that because I'm going to need that. Okay, so we have that, and now we have, let me add VLAN 20, traffic, enable 192.168.20.1, subnet mask, .0, the outgoing interface, again, default, and the next hop will be the 7822p, save that. And then, realistically, all I did last time was ping out, and I had no issues pinging out. Now, I do have to go back and switch my computer in order to show you that on the screen. Otherwise, I could just test it from the iMac back there, but then you guys won't see that. So I'll be right back. All right, let's give it a second or two to grab an address in back in the 10 network. Okay, we're back on the 10 network. We have an address of 10.100. So theoretically now, earlier in the week, and let's see if we can still ping 20.72. Yes, all right. So we're pinging 20.72 from the 10 network, and now we should be able, well, the first time I tried this, I was able to ping out to the internet. Now I can't. All right, so this time it's not. So then what I did the last time that happened, I got to switch my computer again. Give it a chance to grab an address so I can go back and config on the switch. And the last time I did that on the layer 3 switch, I was able to add a static route here back to the router. Come on, let's grab an address. There we go. Okay, it just took a second. Okay. All right, so then I came into the switch, I came down to routing, I came down to static routes, I added a static route with the destination being 0.0.0.0, with the mask being 0. And the next hop being the address of the 7001. And once I did that, which this was a step I didn't have to do earlier in the week, I only had to create the static routes here. Actually, you could see it, but I'm not connected because I can't control the router. But actually, I should be able to control the router because I have an address in, let's see. Yeah. Okay. So this is on the switch. I created the static route hop back to the router, but here, the only thing I had to do was these two static routes earlier in the week. But now, theoretically, let me switch back to the 10 network. I should be able to ping out to the internet. Okay, let's give it a chance to grab an address back in the subnet, the 10 subnet. Let me take a look. Okay, we're back on the 10 subnet. Let me bring up the ping again. Now let's try pinging out to the internet now. And now you can see we have a ping, a successful ping out to the internet. And I am on, let's see. I'll show you. EN, I believe this is EN11. Yeah. Okay, so you can see here, I'm getting my address on the VLAN 10 right there. So honestly, I'm not sure. It's been a learning curve for me this week. It's been a fun one. Because again, like I said, this is not something that I typically play with or do on the residential side of things. But I stumbled through it today, and I appreciate your patience with it. But I'm a little not understanding why. I mean, it makes sense, the static route that I put in on the layer 3 switch to the next hop being the router, but didn't have to do that. I did not have to do that earlier in the week. I just needed those two static routes on the router end. So in any event, that's a little exploration of layer 3 multi-layer switching on the Grandstream, on how it's configured on the Grandstream switches. So it doesn't seem like we have any more comments. We have 10 people here though, 7 likes, so I do appreciate that. Let me just see where I'm at. I definitely want to go back. I know I keep going, let me switch, but I definitely have to get my computer back. I'm going to do it without, I'm going to do this here real quick. I'm going to make this inactive so that I can grab an address. There we go. Okay, I should have more. Yeah, Grish, they do support loads of, I got to get back on that network though. Hold on one second. Actually, I do not. I'm sorry. I lied. Yes, I do. No. So let me grab an address. Where is it? I gotta make this active. Just bear with me until it grabs an IP address. And if it, let's see, maybe I could just show you on one of my other switches. Yeah, no. There we go. It just pulled an address as I said that. All right, so let me pop this back up and show you what I'm talking about. Yes, it does support dynamic routing. It supports RIP, OSPF, OSPF3, and BGP. I was starting to explore just from a research aspect of it because, again, it's not something I do, to learn the difference between RIP, OSPF, and BGP this week. But again, I don't know enough about it to play with it yet. I know BGP is not for me. That's definitely for, um, ISPs and internet routing and stuff like that. But I would like to either start to begin to learn former OSPF or RIP, because what I learned about it this week was RIP is for the smaller networks, the ones that need to scale more, OSPF and OSPF3, and then obviously BGP for the internet. But again, I have all this wonderful functionality on these switches, but it's not something that I'm really in my line of work ever going to need. Like, I will never need to implement, dynamic routing in the type of residential work I'm doing at my point in life at 63 years of age. But yes, to answer your question, it does support dynamic routing. Alonzo says he plans to configure inter VLAN routing on his RAE. Did I say that right? RAE switches? How did you get involved with that company, Alonzo? I know you've mentioned them in the past, and I'm honestly not too familiar with them. Let me see. Do they have a website? I'm sure they do. Ray. Let's see. Yep. Let's switch over. Okay. So Ray, I hope I'm saying that right. So the E6 A6000 Wi-Fi 6 router. Let's see what they got. E4, E5, E6, and E12. Interesting. Totally unfamiliar with this brand. Let's see. Do they have dedicated switches, or is it just Wi-Fi routers? Huh. About us. Innovation connects people. Wi-Fi routers, mesh Wi-Fi systems, and Wi-Fi extenders. Okay, well, that answers my question right there. Cool. Let's see. Alonzo says that's the consumer site. Oh, Ruji. Okay. Hold on one second. RUIJIE Networks. Let's see. Appreciate that, Alonzo. Like I said, I am not familiar with them at all. Let's see, products. Oh, yeah. Now, here we go. Campus switches, industrial switches. Oh, wow. Oh, they have a ton. Core switches, aggregation switches. Nice. Routers, multi-service routers, core routers, mobile routers. So you got some serious enterprise looking level stuff going on here. Nice. Again, I'm not familiar with them at all. How did you How did you hear about these guys, or what was your experience with them in the past? Very cool. Thank you for sharing. Click Ray in the top left corner. Okay. And there we go. Switches. Layer 3, Layer 2, Industrial, Smart CCTV switch, Unmanaged switches. Nice. Let's take a look at one of their. Huh. Very nice. Again, I've never even heard of them. So, but that doesn't surprise me. So, anyway, well, thank you, Alonzo. I appreciate that. Let's see. What else? Not a whole hell of a lot going on. Hey, that's the first time I went to touch this microphone. Not bad. Not bad. So what do we got? I have a couple of new things still to come in from, well, not new. I got a couple of things coming in from Grandstream. Supposedly shipping the end of next week. They are going to send me a second 7062E. I have the one here so that I could do some test the meshing. That should be pretty cool. They're sending me the new and I meant to do a video on this week and I just didn't get around to it. The new Convergence series. I know they have it on their website. Here it is. So they came out this week with the GCC 6020 series. So, you know, you've heard Willie, myself, Jason, even TVJ. He did his whole live stream when he got it, when he bought all the network gear for Grandstream. He bought the GCC 6010 series router, and in that series, the original GCC series was the 6010 and the 6011. Now they just came out with the new, I guess they're not calling it Gen 2, but it's the second revision of the GCC series. They're calling it the GCC 6020 and the 6021, I believe. Yeah. So some pretty cool stuff on the horizon. Let's see what some of the updates are. Let's make this a little bit bigger for you. All right, so one 10 gig SFP plus port, one 2.5 gig, and 4 gigabit Ethernet ports. So on the 6010, you didn't have the 10 gig SFP plus port. You just had two 2.5 ports. So they replaced one of the 2.5 ports with the 10 gig port. And then on the 1621, that's the bigger brother, you get 4 10 gigabit SFP plus ports. You get 8 2.5 gig ports and then 16 gigabit Ethernet ports. This is literally the same configuration as the 7822P that I have in the back there, the layer 3 switch. You have the 4 SFP plus 10 gig ports, you have the 8 2.5 ports, and then you have the 16 gigabit Ethernet ports. That's identical configuration to the layer 3 switch. Let's see what else we got It does have the M.2 SSD storage underneath, which is a nice addition for external storage. Well, at least the slot for it. I'm not sure if it comes with it or not, but I will find out when I get mine. So yeah, they made some nice revisions to these routers. Price points are pretty hefty from what I can gather. So if we go to VoIP Supply, I don't even know if VoIP Supply has them yet, but for argument's sake, the GCC 6010 is $159, and the 6020, which would be, see if they have it. Yeah, they don't have it yet. Or oh, they do, but they don't have. It says out of stock. Let's see if IP Phone Warehouse has it. Did I type that wrong? Let's see. IP Phone. Let me just look them up this way. Here we go. Yep, put the hyphen in the wrong place. All right. So the GCC 6010 was $159. The GCC 6020 is $399. So it's a considerable bump for the additional upgrades in this router here versus the GCC 6010. And I haven't even priced out. I have no idea what the 21 is. I don't know if they carry it. They do, $459. So I guess that's not horrible when you look at the fact that the layer 3 switch is $312. So for the extra $150 or whatever, $140, you're getting all the routing capabilities, the NAT, the firewall, next gen firewall, all that. So, but big bump from the original GCC series, but excited that came out, and I'm looking forward to getting my hands on. I'm not sure which version they're sending me. They're probably going to, seeing the retail pricing, they're probably going to just send me the 6020. I doubt it if they'll send me the 60, the GCC 6021. Yeah, there you go. Alonzo says TikTok's data centers use Rugi networks. Nice. Alonzo also says the GCC, 146, and the GCC 11, 206. The price varies, 159. I saw the GCC as low as 139. It depends where and what week and what day, to be honest with you. But those are average prices for those two. So I'm excited. I'm excited about that. And that's about all I had for today. I figured if more people were here, maybe the conversation would take us a little longer. But we've been going just about an hour, and the real core thing I wanted to do today was explore the layer 3 switching capabilities on the 7822 and see if I can get that working. I'm happy I did. Whether I'll ever have a use case for it in what I do, probably not. But nice to know it's there if needed. And as far as dynamic routing, I want to learn more about that. But again, I don't have the use case to drive me. If I do, it's just going to be for my own education and growth and knowledge. But anyway, we got 7 of you here still. Thank you for sticking in there with me. We have 7 likes, so 7 here, 7 likes. I'll take it. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday afternoon. I hope you liked seeing a little bit, even though I fumbled through some of it, seeing a little bit about what the Grandstream GWN layer 3 switching is all about and how to go about playing with it. Yeah, so that's about it. Alonzo says thank you, and I say thank you, Alonzo, and everybody else for being here. That's all for now. Until I see you guys in the next video, take care.